This podcast is a production of WCWP, LIU Public Radio. Check out our lineup of original programs, listen live, or support by visiting WCWP.org.
The following is a presentation of Project Independence and WCWP. Project Independence is the Aging in Place initiative of the town of North Hempstead. We provide programs and services designed to assist and support the older town residents who wish to remain in their homes as they age. If we don't currently provide a service, we will try and connect you to that service. Call 311 or 869-6311 to get more information or receive services.
Welcome to Project Independence and You.
Good morning and welcome to Senior Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. This is Project Independence and You. I'm your host, John Ryan, and my co-host today is Otto Los. Good morning, Otto.
Good morning, John. Big day today.
Today's a big day. It's our anniversary show, but more importantly than being our anniversary show, we have a special guest. And usually it's the supervisor of the town. But normally when I introduce Judy, I always have a story. I have something cute. I have something witty because not only is she the supervisor, she's one of my best friends. But today, I'm not going to do any of that because it takes away from what she has done for this town starting March 16th, 17th, whenever it was, the pandemic hit. And Judy was on in late March, early April. She was the first guest we had once we went back to the radio. And here we are in September. And she has brought the town to life in the middle of pandemic. And that's what we're here to talk about today. One, to have an anniversary show and try to have a little bit of fun. But the more important thing from my perspective is I want Judy to go over some of the things she's done, because through it all, she really has maintained is the greatest face that this town has shown within this county. And that, Judy, is a compliment to you and to everybody who works with you, but it starts at the top. Because if it didn't go well, we all know who would be getting the blame, Judy Bosworth. But instead, you're getting the credit. So good morning. How are you?
Hi. How are you, John? And thank you so much for that lovely introduction, as you always are so gracious. I'm so honored to have been asked to be part of this program as your 9th anniversary celebration. I love Project Independence. It's done so much for the seniors in our town, but I love this radio show. You as the host, Christina, Otto is, I shouldn't say my favorite host, but he is, so I'm going to say it.
You're my favorite supervisor.
Yeah. That's like my kid saying to my sister, "You're my favorite aunt," and she's their only aunt. But okay, I'll take it. But it's just such a joy to be here with all of you, because throughout everything, good times, bad times, there's a constant in knowing that our seniors can depend upon all that you do with the Project Independence radio show to get information to them. It's something that they can tune into. And even with the pandemic, that didn't stop you guys. You went right to Zoom. And fortunately, we've got the most wonderfully technologically adept seniors, I think, not only in the county, but I'd say in New York State, because they're able to watch, they're able to do Zoom, they're able to maneuver their ways around all the different challenges that technology presents. So I am just delighted and honored to be here.
Thank you, as we are also, because just before we go on, Judy has a crazy schedule. And I have to acknowledge it, and anybody listening and seeing the show, because we're going to be on TV also next week. But it's not a matter of she gets up in the morning and makes a few cold falls and then goes for a walk. It's actually worse. I personally believe, any conversation I've had with Judy, it's worse now because, with Zoom and everything else, you are so accessible that you're pulled in every direction, and it's not business as usual, because everything that comes her way is like for the first time, unfortunately. What are we going to do with this? It's decisions have to be made at the spur of the moment, first time.
So, these are unprecedented times. and I think all of us, everybody on this call, everybody who's watching, is doing things in a way that they never dreamed they would do before. And so you're right, every day is a challenge. We're constantly reinventing what we're doing, and we're all trying to get we're all trying to get adjusted to what the new sense of normal is. And that keeps changing. And so, one of the things, and we can talk about all the great things that are happening in the town, and I know that we will, but one of the things that concerns me so is the fact that because the numbers have been low with COVID, I think the town, our county, New York State has done an admirable job in getting the message out about social distancing, about the importance of wearing masks, about not being out there in crowds. But I think people are kind of getting into a sense of complacency, thinking, okay, we're finished. And we're not. We're so far from finished. We're still in the middle of a pandemic. I know people are working tirelessly to get a vaccine, and that's in the works, but we don't have it yet. Treatments for COVID are still, experimental. I think if someone comes down with it, they have methods and strategies to deal with it, but there's really still not one real treatment for it. So we've got to be so aware that we're still in the middle of a pandemic, that we still need to be taking all the precautions that we've been taking all along. And that is like you're doing. You could have said, oh, it's fine. We can all come in and do this program. We'll social distance. But the far safer way to do it is the way that you're doing it. Doing it, everybody, with their own little computer screen, but doing it safely, imparting the same information. It's going to be the same fun, other than the fact that I miss you so terribly, all of you. But John, I have to say, you especially. I've had enough with virtual hugs. It's time for the real thing. But we can't let our guard down. And so whether we're talking to seniors or whether we're talking to parents of school-age children, we need to be so cognizant of the importance of social distancing, of wearing masks, of not being in big groups, of trying to do the things that we can do to keep ourselves safe.
So true. And you're saying it so correctly, Judy. I'm not a big Facebook person, but I do go on it looking at pictures. The amount of people having parties, not socially distant, and they're all together for and some of these people are up in age, and you have to, 60, 70, 80, you have to be careful. You're right. Complacency is probably the most dangerous thing right now. You're with your family, you're with people who you trust and what they're doing, et cetera, et cetera. But, for somebody like my brother, he works, he's out every day. I mean, I have no interest. I mean, I haven't seen him in months because he comes home, he takes his clothes off, he takes a shower, he does everything like he should be doing. Good for him. I don't want to be in that situation, and it's not out of lack of love. Of course not. I'm nervous. It's like, all of a sudden you turn around and say, oh my God, he was infected, or he could be a carrier, but not even have any symptoms. And he has a delivery route. So he's in and out of stores all day long. Now he's an Entenmann driver. He's never been busier. The amount of cake, his job has never been easier because there's nobody on the road, but he has never been busier. He says the cake is flying off the shelves. Everybody's just sitting home eating.
Yeah, in my house alone,
There's something to be said for comfort food.
It's the truth. When it comes to stuff like that. Go ahead, Otto.
Well, no, you said there's nobody on the road. I was just saying to myself 2 days ago that traffic has really picked up. I think there's a lot more people on the road. It used to be you go out and there were hardly one car on the road. Now it's almost like normal, as far as I see.
Right.
There's a lot of people out there, again, either working in their office now or wherever they work. Trucks like your brother. There's plenty of deliveries going on.
These are true statistics. I have to go into the city quite often for doctors. It used to take me an hour and a half. At its best, in the middle of Corona, it was 27 to 30 minutes. And I was in Manhattan through the bridge and everything. Now we're in the mid 40s to 50. So you're right. It is starting to pick up. But we're still good. Now that's early in the morning. So you're not having everybody driving in. And this is before school recommenced. So next week I go in again. So we'll see now that school's on and buses are going and everything else. That's more traffic being added and people driving their kids to school because some people don't want them on the bus. It really becomes, quite an event.
So John, I just like to say with all that's going on with treatments and whatnot, you're being able to get into the city in 27 minutes. One could say, and there's the silver lining.
Right. Well, that's true. That's true. It's unbelievable. There was nobody on the road. This is like April and May. And then you get out. But, at the same time, where I parked my car, I would say it's like coffee shops and stuff. Half of them are gone. And the heartbreaking one was there was one on the corner with a big sign in the window. And they only went like a month and a half ago. They finally went. The sign said, "We've tried our best, but we just can't do it." And we're gone. Because, you're not making a fortune on coffee. And so therefore, and when you're in a store, you're only getting one person at a time to come in to buy 2 cups of coffee. So you made $2. It's a lot.
I'm sorry, but you talked silver lining, and I've just thinking, I'm going to go out to eat later and we're going to eat outside.
Okay.
And the silver lining has been during this COVID experience, other than the storm, which was far from a silver lining, the weather has really been quite good overall. People have been able to go out, and we haven't had any real cold or really super hot weather. It's been pretty good. And I'm a little concerned about what it's going to be like if things are staying where they are. A lot of restaurants who are able to get people inside or outside now, that's not going to happen. And a lot more restaurants, I think, are going to go down the drain with 25% capacity inside. Like a place that has 16 tables, now they can have 4, and they can't be outside. We're not there yet, that's for sure.
Yeah.
No, but you bring up such a good point, Otto, because we have our local businesses, and one of the things that we keep trying to emphasize at the town is the need to support our local businesses. And so there are people who are now, we've extended so that they can put, restaurants can put tables on the sidewalk. We have a, lift up local where there are certain times where streets can actually be closed so that restaurants can put tables outside. And of course, that's good for now. And it's probably okay for another month or two. But when the weather gets colder, then it becomes another challenge. But it's so important that we do whatever we can to support our local businesses, because we want to make sure that when this is over, and it will be over. I mean, it's a pandemic. It's difficult. It is difficult. It's challenging, but it will be over. And we want to make sure that those local businesses that have always been there for us are able to survive and be there throughout this and into the future. So personally, I'm not comfortable eating inside, and everybody has to do what they're comfortable with. But I have to say, I'm supporting our local residents by ordering in a lot.
Okay.
So I'm also cooking more than I've ever cooked. But, there are different ways by maintaining your sense of comfort and the things that you're willing to take risks on, but still supporting our local businesses. So sometimes it's easier to just go online, perhaps, and order from a big store, or I don't want to start mentioning different names. But you know what? Our local businesses also, they're so accommodating. If you call and you order something, you pay over the phone. If you drive up, they will put whatever it is you bought in the trunk of your car so that, it's contactless delivery. We need to be trying to reach out to our local stores, whatever we can do by ordering from them. If you're not comfortable going into the store, then by ordering and picking it up. Because our local businesses are the heart of our communities. And so it's so important to support them. I will tell you, I am practicing what I'm preaching. I am not comfortable going into stores, but I have been to one store. You know what store I was in? This past Sunday, I went to Rite Aid. It was a Sunday of Labor Day weekend, and I got my flu shot. I was double masked, and I went in the middle of the afternoon on a gorgeous Sunday when I thought nobody would be there, and nobody was there, but the pharmacist was, thankfully, and I got my shot.
We're going to take a break.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll be right back, and I agree with you, Judy, but we're going to talk more about that. You're listening to Senior Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. We'll be right back.
Project Independence is the Aging in Place initiative of the town of North Hempstead. One of the many services we offer is transportation for food, shopping, and medical visits. Call 311 or 869-6311 to get more information or receive services.
Welcome back to Senior Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. This is Project Independence in You. I'm your host, John Ryan, and my co-host today is Otto Los. And actually, before I reintroduce the supervisor, also on the show today, we have Christina Liu. And Christina Liu is the producer. And Otto and I talk about this all the time, and now I'm going to be saying it in front of the supervisor. Christina is so much more than just a producer. She is the heart and soul of this program with Dan Cox and herself, but Dan Cox is with LIU. She is the person that really makes it happen. She stays on top of everybody, gets the speakers, and she owns this 100%. And so I'm giving you a shout out, Christina, and a thank you for all you do just for me. So we're all giving you a clap.
It's an honor to be here with you guys. And listen, you guys, everybody knows, I think at this point, that this is my baby, and I love doing this with each of you every week. And it's even during a pandemic, we're still making it happen, having some laughs through the craziness. So
no, it's wonderful. When we went into the break, Judy was talking about her not wanting to eat in restaurants. And I don't either. I won't. I have no interest. We'll bring in, or Steph will go shopping, or the kids will go shopping, or the kids will drop off a pizza or something. I don't really care. And there's other things I would do. I will go into a supermarket. I don't go that much, to be honest with you, but you have to do it smartly, and you have to do what you're happy with. And if you don't want to go to a restaurant, then you shouldn't go. And if you are, there's no reason not to, and be, 6 foot apart and be socially distant and do all the proper stuff, because there's nothing wrong with it. Where I want to go, Judy, for a bit, and I think this has been a tremendous program, is Neighbors Helping Neighbors, especially at this time during a pandemic when some people have been isolated.
Absolutely. Look, one of the things when they talk about some of the challenges that seniors face all the time, not just during, a time of pandemic, but just one of the challenges for seniors is a sense of isolation. There are seniors that are homebound. There are seniors that find it difficult to get out. And so this was reactivated. I think it was something that Project Independence had once had some years ago,
okay,
but it was reactivated. It's Neighbors Helping Neighbors. And so it allows Project Independent neighbors to call each other so that they can enjoy the companionship and the reassurance from their neighbors during a time when they can feel isolated and they can feel disconnected. And one of the things that I think is so great about this program is it's not just that a volunteer calls and says, okay, I want to do it. They're interviewed, their interests are described, and they actually match volunteers to seniors. So that, it could be that someone is a retired teacher, and so they get matched with someone who is a teacher, so that there are certain basic areas of commonality that they have. So they're good connections. And my understanding is at this point, we have 44 pairs of people that are matched. And so that's just really wonderful, because it shows you that there are now 44 seniors that are matched with volunteers who get calls frequently. And so they just don't feel so alone. And so I just want to say, if anybody wants to volunteer to be a member of our Neighbors Helping Neighbors program, they should call 311. 311 is that great system where pretty much anything you need, if you call 311, they're going to find a way to connect you with who you need to be connected to. But I'm so impressed with not only the volunteers who are taking part in this, but the fact that the Project Independence team has taken this so seriously and have worked so hard to make sure that they're making good matches. And it's a great source of comfort for our seniors. And I think of all the things that we've done, that's one of the things I'm proudest of that the town has done, during this time.
We even have Match, which is one of my favorite stories of this program because it just really is so special. 100-year-old and 104-year-old got matched. So the volunteer was the 100-year-old and the 104 was the senior. And it was just to hear stories like that, bring to life how incredible this program is. And there's such a collaboration because, if God forbid an issue comes to light, in a conversation, they immediately tell the social worker, the nurse, or, one of us over at DOSA. And it's just, it's such a great program and they all can't wait. They said for this to be over to actually meet in person and spend time together. So it's definitely special.
I'm sorry, but I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Otto.
No, if you think about it, we talked silver linings before. A really big silver lining as a result of COVID is the fact that now things like Neighbors Helping Neighbors, Zoom type events really happened because of COVID. Prior to COVID, if you were disabled or had a mobility problem or whatever, you really didn't have a way for communicating with people. And I think that, COVID has kind of, in a backward kind of way, led people to being better off in some respects. If you were housebound, you have more flexibility now because we were all forced to do what we're doing right now, Zoom or any other kind of thing. So that is a silver lining. If you want to look for them, they're there.
And you have to.
Look for them,
go ahead, Judy.
There are so many of them. And one of the things that I'm seeing is that some of the different things that we're doing as a result of trying to adapt to the pandemic are things that I think should be continued even when this is over. Otto, you're so right when you talk about people now being able to connect through Zoom. There's someone, Project Independence has the Project Independence Advisory Committees. So those committee meetings are continuing to happen and it's wonderful because these are the seniors who are involved with the advisory groups of Project Independence, always giving great ideas and giving feedback for what's being done, that's working and what's being done that maybe isn't working. And one of the members actually said, this has been so wonderful because it's getting harder for me to get about. And by having the Project Independence Advisory Committee meetings via Zoom, I can still participate and I can do it from home. And so I think that going forward, even if we're meeting in person, there needs to be some kind of Zoom component so that someone who is not able to get out can still be part of these kinds of discussions.
I think that's a great point, that we should keep using the technology even when it gets to the point where you can do everything in a live way, if you will. An area that I would love to see, and they've heard me preach this before, things like nursing homes, emergency rooms, hospitals, all these places, all of a sudden, people are marooned by themselves, and there's got to be a way to improve that through the use of the technology that we have now. I don't see that has taken place yet. And I've had some personal exposure to it. I believe there's a big need for this technology to be pushed over into that world, nursing homes, hospitals. Right now people are marooned for the most, and that's not right. And I believe we have to take the technology and make sure it's applied to that world, which is maybe a silver lining down the road.
You know what, Otto? I think that would be down the road because right now, this is my opinion, we're in crisis mode. So we're not looking for what Zoom can do next. We're using Zoom just to communicate now with our friends and family, or as through the supervisor saying, with the town and helping people out. Getting into a hospital, that had to be set up already because of the contagiousness of the disease, and nobody wants to do it. Nobody's going in to set up, hospital rooms with Zoom. But what you're talking about is the future, and they're going to be looking and they're going to see what else can we do with all this technology.
Well, I'm thinking things like smart TVs could exist in rooms, and that could, if that were working now, would make people's lives much easier, and you wouldn't have the exposure. So I'm just saying the technology's there. It's got to be applied for worlds like we're in right now, pandemics or any other crisis type stuff that might come up.
And if there's Wi-Fi in the hospitals or in the nursing homes, if someone has an iPad, they can participate, using the iPad. It doesn't have to be something that's, attached, to the wall. So there are great ways to do it. What comes to mind when you were talking about that is the Project Independence exercise classes. So, that was something that, I think that our seniors are probably the most fit seniors anywhere because they participate in these great classes. And all of a sudden, well, what's going to happen? We can't do the classes because it's not safe. And so our commissioner of Department of Services for the Aging, Kimberly Corcoran Galante, with her amazing staff, Christina, what did they do? They said, you know what? We can do this online. And so they tape the exercise classes so that people who have computers can, yes, go online and still participate in the classes. But we also realized that, well, not everybody is comfortable with going online. I mean, more of our seniors are than are not, but many are not. So they're also being broadcast on our North Hempstead TV channel, and they're being broadcast on the same day and time that they would have gone to the class. So if you had a Zumba class Monday at 10, you go on to North Hempstead TV, Monday at 10, there's your Zumba class. And again, something we should be continuing.
And I've seen some of them there. It's unbelievable. It really is. In this way, in their own home, people can exercise. But right now, we have to take another break. You're listening to Senior Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. We'll be right back with Supervisor Judy Bosworth.
Project Independence is the Aging in Place initiative of the town of North Hempstead. One of the many services we offer is help at home with minor home maintenance. Call 311 or 869-6311 to get more information or receive services.
Welcome back to Senior Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. This is Project Independence and You. I'm your host, John Ryan. My co-host today is Otto Los.
Still here, John.
And our producer, Christina Lou. And we're talking with Supervisor Judy Bosworth, and we've covered some of the stuff that's going on online and on North Hempstead TV, which I think is tremendous. I mean, even this show, for people listening, we're on I think 9 o'clock in the morning and 7 o'clock at night. But Judy, what I want to touch on now, and I'm just going all over the place, is taxi service. How has that fared? Is it still going on? I know there was a call for it, but I'd like you to bring us up to date.
Yeah, no, it is still going on. And in fact, it was expanded because of the pandemic. So the senior food shopping transportation program was expanded so that it starts at 7 a.m., goes to 2 p.m. It's available to our residents 7 days a week. And, there was never a fee for this, but now not only isn't there a fee, but there's no cost at all in terms of tipping a driver. The Project Independence is taking care of everything. Medical appointments, there was a small fee. We've eliminated all fees for our transportation. We don't want our seniors having to handle cash unnecessarily. And we don't want anything to serve as an impediment to going to a doctor's appointment, to taking care of the medical things that need to be taken care of. One of the things that I think is a concern is that people are letting regular health issues kind of go by the wayside because they're concerned about going into a doctor's office or about getting there. We still need to be taking care of our health. I mean, I mentioned I got a flu shot. We still need to be doing all those things that we would have been doing otherwise in terms of medical care. So the taxi service has been expanded. It is 7 days a week. There is no fee for that. There's no fee now for the medical appointments. We have actually made sure that we have, waived fees on so many things. So we waived the fees for this. There were no fees for our pools this summer. There were no fees for our beaches this summer, and that was for seniors and for all residents of North Hempstead. My feeling was people are going through tough economic times. We need to be there to help. And we wanted to make sure that everyone had the ability to enjoy the beach, to enjoy pools. Of course, socially distant. We had sessions so that you could go in the morning or you could go in the afternoon for, the pools. We had 50% capacity. We didn't want our residents having to exchange money to have unnecessary interactions with staff to have unnecessary interactions with residents. And we wanted to make sure that everybody who wanted to enjoy the outdoor recreation that was available could do so and not have to be concerned about whether they had the funds to do that or not. And I always think, this is, you save for a rainy day. This is our rainy day. And we need to do what we can to make sure that we are providing our residents with every possible service that we can.
I took advantage of the free going to North Hempstead Beach Park, walked the North Hempstead Park Trail, took a breather, went to a bench, sat there, looked at the pretty scenery, and lo and behold, I saw the plaque on there. I was sitting on the Jay Bosworth bench, which I didn't know about. And then I sat there and I looked and I said, that's interesting.
When Jay turned 70, Jay's my husband. So
Yeah,
when
right.
Jay turned 70, I think, what do you get for somebody who, thank God has so much of what they need. And he loves the trail and he loves the park. And so I bought a bench and had it dedicated, in honor of his birthday.
Well, I used
Oh,
it.
great.
I'll tell Jay, I'll make him very happy.
I just want to touch on what Judy was talking about with saving for a rainy day. And, many places still charged throughout Long Island, the city, things weren't opened, et cetera, et cetera. And, it's no secret that North Hempstead has a tremendously fiscally conservative steward here in Judy Bosworth. We have a AAA bond rating. And she could have kept that. I mean, we still have it, don't get me wrong. But she didn't have to turn around and give you free parking. But she did it. And I hope the people who watch the show and listen to the show realize it was done basically to protect the resident and to keep life a little bit easier. And then at the same time, to give you a little bit of relaxation if things were, people didn't have jobs. So it'd be nice to take the kids to the beach and say, yeah, but it's $10 or whatever it is, $15. We really should be doing something else with that money. You had the option on a nice Saturday afternoon to go for free, walk around with the kids, socially distant. And for that, honestly, you deserve a lot of credit and praise because you didn't have to, because many other places didn't do it. So you were thinking out for the constituents as a member of your family would.
I always say we're a family here in North Hempstead, and we are. And I see it more now than ever before because people are really looking out for each other, caring about each other. And it's interesting because you did mention the AAA bond rating earlier this month. The town was once again awarded a AAA bond.
Congratulations! I didn't know. Okay.
Yep. So we've maintained a AAA bond rating since 2016. And, what's being said is it's a result of the steady and focused efforts by the financial team to watch each and every tax dollar, to budget conservatively, to manage the debt, and to make decisions. And the decision was made to waive these fees because this was the time that it was needed. And because we manage in such a conservative way, we were able to do that. And of course, there are certain events that are not happening because of COVID. So that kind of makes you able to say, all right, we're not spending it on this. Let's put it towards that. And
Right.
so that's something I'm actually very proud of.
One thing I think that was absolutely spectacular this year was Fun Day Monday, which people look forward to. And my God, you put it together in such a tremendous way. Was it the normal Fun Day Monday? Of course not. But was it a good Fun Day Monday for people to enjoy? Absolutely, which is what you're looking for.
I'd like to throw out some
Oh.
praise to the three of you for that Fun Day Monday. I looked at most of them, not completely, but for the most part, and it was professionally done. It looked like it was a professional TV show. I thought it was great, the way it was organized and how it was handled, and the interviewing and the different little interesting stories that you had on the side. I particularly enjoyed Fun Day Monday when you had all the old cars there. And
Yeah, that was my favorite.
You talk to the people who owned the cars. I mean,
So
I've
good.
been there, I walked by those cars. I never gave it a thought. But there's some stories behind those cars, which was good. It was interesting.
And
And
some you could tell and some you couldn't.
You deserve a gold star.
So, thank you for bringing up the Fun Day Monday, because Fun Day Monday, I will tell you, in the dark of winter, the thing that gets me through is I think, okay, we're going to have Fun Day Monday, because it is such a fabulous time for our seniors in North Hempstead. Every Monday, about 1,000 seniors would come to North Hempstead Beach Park and just be part of a wonderful day, spending a day at the beach with fitness classes and entertainment and snacks, and people having groups where they sit and they play mahjong and cards, and also a wonderful time to just be able to walk around saying hi to everybody, reconnect after the winter. So it was hard not to be able to count on going to Fun Day Monday. And Otto, thanks for your kind words about it, because a lot of thought and a lot of effort was made into organizing Fun Day Monday. And you're right, there were interviews. I know every elected official was interviewed. There were exercise classes, there were cooking classes, there were tours of the waterfront of the Gold Coast. There was a tour of the Nassau County Museum. There was an effort made to make it interesting, not just like same old. And I think it was pretty successful. Of course,
it could be a show that anybody could watch. You don't have to wait till Fun Day Monday. You could watch it, on a day when you feel like a little variety. I think it's a good show.
Absolutely. And our favorite Fun Day Monday is always the last one, which is the salute to our veterans. And we still had that. We still had our salute to our veterans. And, we can't ever forget the sacrifice that our veterans have made, and that we have to thank them for the sacrifices that they made, the sacrifices that their families made, and to think of the people who are serving our great country, now during all of the turmoil that we're going through. And so it was, again, another opportunity to be able to highlight that.
And it was highlighted in such a way that you thought this was a normal way of doing things. It really, honestly, it turned out I didn't watch a lot of them. I watched some of it here and there, to be perfectly honest. But what I did watch, even that cooking show, I watched 2 of the cooking shows.
Oh, did you?
Yep, I really did. And Port Washington, I think he's from, or Manhasset, whatever. He was wonderful. It was so professional that if you were watching a cooking show on TV, as I have, this guy had a lovely kitchen and explained thoroughly. And it was, that, as Otto was saying, you wouldn't have appreciated if he was cooking as you walked down the beach. You looked at him for 5 minutes, you would have kept going. Now you could rewind it and say, what did he put in? Half an ounce or an ounce, but you could. So it's, what we've done here, taking credit for nothing, is you took the town and turned it into something. And as you know, some people put their head in the sand and said it'll be over, and it's not over yet. You turned around and said, we got to get going. We got to figure out something. This was not going to be a week or a 2-week situation. And we're still, Thanksgiving Day's been canceled. Christmas is canceled, unfortunately. I know that. There's no question about it. I had a conversation with my wife the other day. I said, in my mindset, I said, I'm not bringing anything down from the attic. Because she even said, because I'm not even sure we're having the kids over. So what do we do? I have no idea. But we're into the spring already. So everything that, Judy, you are putting into place is going to be in place for at least several months to come. And a real legitimate vaccine. I'm not a doctor. It's still months away. There's nothing coming next month. Unless it's some, I have no idea what it could be, some hocus pocus thing. But in reality, it's not going to be here till next year.
But John, you have to, it will not be Christmas for anybody unless the Ryans decorate their house in some way.
That's
so
right.
Maybe don't bring everything down.
Exactly. That's what I said. Christmas is not canceled. I refuse to believe any holiday is canceled in my world. It's just a little different. So it's like a new kind of thing, but it brings you joy. Listen, I laughed with my husband. I said, I need the decorations because it makes me happy to look around and see it. So regardless if anyone else is enjoying it, I'll take a picture and send it around to everyone. There you go.
You are going to do a Zoom Christmas.
That's right.
Oh, Zoom Christmas.
That's right.
Okay. We want to see those decorations. Sorry.
Right, there we go.
You're not off the hook.
That's what I was saying. Judy's busier now than ever before. Because you're right. You can do a Zoom Christmas. Means you have to do all the work to Zoom it.
That's right.
And for what? I don't mean for what. But now it's like, I'm exhausted and all you're doing is Zooming. But for the people who are enjoying the Zoom, it's wonderful. But right now, we do have to take another break. You're listening here to Senior Talk Radio on 88.1 FM, WCWP.org. We'll be right back with Judy Bosworth, supervisor in the town of North Hempstead.
Project Independence is the Aging in Place initiative of the town of North Hempstead. Some of the many services we offer include nursing and social work services. Call 311 or 869-6311 to get more information or receive services.
Welcome back to Senior Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. This is Project Independence in You. I'm your host, John Ryan. My co-host is Otto Los. And we also have on the show our producer, Christina Liu. And I don't believe it's the last segment. It flies when Judy's on the program with us. But we are speaking with the supervisor of the town of North Hempstead, Judy Bosworth, and reviewing some of the stuff that she implemented to make life for the residents of the town of North Hempstead better. That's all the word has to be. Better than it would have been in other places when people are going through such terrible times. Is this terrible? Yes. I'm not making light of it for anybody, any individual, any family. But fortunately, by living in the town of North Hempstead, we have some things that are going on for us that make life a little better. In that regard, we have movies and concerts. And Judy, tell us about that because I know people are enjoying those things.
So we started planning for drive-in movies as soon as the pandemic seemed to be a reality. So as of March, we were set to go with drive-in movies. We may have been set to go, but the governor wasn't so sure. So we had all the logistics in place, and then lo and behold, and that's how we found out a lot of stuff. Governor Cuomo had these wonderful press conferences, but oftentimes we found out what we were allowed to do by listening to the press conferences. And he made the statement, drive-in movies are terrific. That weekend, we started our first drive-in movie, and we've been having drive-in movies throughout the summer. We're having them, in September as well. We're going to have a showing of Ghostbusters. And I can tell you that registration is required. You just need to call 311. Again, no charge. With the drive-in movies were all without any fee. The only thing we asked that is if someone came to see the movie, that they brought a donation for a food drive. So either canned goods or some kind of non-perishable food, because what we are finding is that people are hurting. they're needing food, and the food pantries are in dire need of food. So that was, what we asked. We also, when we were allowed, did drive-in concerts using the same, philosophy, as well as concerts by candlelight. So the concerts by candlelight were actually in person. We designated seating circles that was 6 feet apart so that people would actually be able to be outside, hear a live concert, but do it in a safe way. So, those are the kinds of things that we wanted to provide for our residents, because yes, there are a lot of things that we can't do, but there are a lot of things that we can do. And this is what we're doing is ever changing. We're adapting to whatever the new challenge is. We're coming into fall. We're going to have to think about what we're going to be doing now to provide different opportunities for our residents. And it's constantly reinventing what we can do. But I've got the most wonderful team. We had a business recovery team. We still have it, where we had members of our town council, as well as members of our staff, getting together to see what we could come up with that could support local business, what we could come up with that could help our local economy. So I talked about the outdoor dining and the lift up program where we closed off streets. We had something where we have tents that religious organizations can put up or businesses can put up. We're waiving all the fees for the permits for the tents. You do need a permit, but we tried to put our heads together to find out what we could do to encourage our businesses to bring a sense of normalcy to our town.
If you wanted to donate to the food drive, how do you go about doing that?
North Hempstead Beach Park and Manor Haven Beach Park have areas where you can bring food.
Okay.
Okay, weekdays from 9 to 5.
Okay.
All right, and we wanted them outside so that no one had to go inside to bring anything. I mean, everything was really thought about how we could encourage people to lead their normal lives, but in a way where they were safe. And so that's how you can do it. And it's great if you're able to do that.
And I just want to say, I mean, it's just amazing. I wish I lived in the town of North Hempstead, but luckily I get to work for the town of North Hempstead.
You need to move.
I know. I don't know what I'm doing, but it's just to really, even just working here and in my department and every department. And it's all because of your leadership, Judy. It's really, you gave everyone the freedom to be creative and come up with these, and like you said, every part of it is thought out. It's not just this like spur of a moment thing. I mean, it's so, meticulously thought out to be done safely, and just the success of all these programs is just amazing. And it's a testament to you for allowing the departments that are under you to come up with these great ideas, and makes it better for the residents. So thank you.
Thank you. So I'm smart. I have really smart people working in the town, and I listen to them.
Yeah.
That's the key.
We do have to look into the fall, because things are going to be, I mean, it's amazing. Like it's not over. So therefore we're going into the fall, and what the town is going to be doing to keep residents occupied in October, November, December, January into the winter. But the one thing I want to make sure, and this food insecurity thing, which is the way it's turned, which I never heard of before. I'm amazed when you see the lines of cars at some of these spots. I never in my life would have thought there was so many people needing our food. But before we continue with our regular conversation, the census, and I definitely don't want Judy leaving before she talks about that, because that is such a vital thing for everybody, specifically within our town, but everybody within the state, within the country, wherever you are, the census is so important.
So John, thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak about that. We just have another few weeks. There are another few weeks where we can get the census filled out. There are some, it's so interesting because there are some areas that are harder to get to than others. One of them is Great Neck. One of them is Newcastle, where we need to be encouraging people to actually fill out the census. And it's nothing, there's no downside to doing that. And it's so important that our town have its people counted, that our county has its people counted, that Long Island has our people counted, that we're not underrepresented, because the census will determine for the next 10 years, our representation in Congress, how many congressional members that we have, the kind of funding that we get, whether it's for Project Head Start or any of the other government funded things. They're determined by your population. So it is just so very, very important to be counted. It's like I count, you count, we all count. I will say, for the people who are listening, you can make a phone call. You can fill out the census by calling, and the number is 844-330-2020, 2020. I'm going to say it again, 844-330-2020. You can do it online. It's my2020census.gov, G-O-V. I'll say that again, my2020census.gov. And I just urge everyone who's listening, if you haven't already filled out the census, please do so. It's so important for all of us in terms of the services and the things that we'll be able to do in our town as a result of making sure that all the people who live here are counted.
I agree with Judy 100%, and it costs nothing either. This is maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10. I don't remember. I did it a while ago. I don't remember. I don't think it is 10 minutes.
No, not even.
Yeah, the little bit of information they want, and you send it back. I did it online.
But in theory, we all supposed to receive a census request in the mail, right? And what we're saying is that if you didn't get something in the mail, make sure you call or go online to take care of it. I like you, John. I remember getting it it feels like a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Where we filled it out already, but
well, they've extended it because of the challenges of COVID. And so that's why it's so important. Whether you got it in the mail or you didn't get it in the mail, if you're living here, you're entitled to fill out the census, make a phone call. And it's not to make a phone call to get something sent to you. It's you make the phone call and that's it. You're filling out the census. Or you go online, you're filling out the census. And it's just so very, very important that everyone who lives here is counted.
I think people have to understand that this is not like an I Spy activity. This is a productive tool that people use to figure out how to allot funds and whatnot to the population of the country. I think some people have an attitude that the government is going to spy on them with the census, but that's not really what this is all about.
No, they're not allowed to. It really is not that at all. It's just a matter of filling it out and be counted.
This is one of those. Okay, go ahead, Judy.
No, I was just going to say thank you.
Oh, I was going to say this is one of those typical things where the people that don't fill it out are the ones 2 years from now are going to be complaining because they're not getting something. And it's like, guess what? If you had filled it out and the other 3,000 people in that area, you would have had maybe a service because it would have showed you needed that service. But if nobody's filling it out, when we look at a graph or a map of the country, you'll say, oh, we don't need any services there because there's nobody living there, basically. Well, I mean, I'm exaggerating, but that's the concept. You have to fill it out. If you want to be counted, you want to be part of anything specifically, we're talking North Hempstead, fill it out and be one of us, so to speak. You were saying something, Otto?
No.
Okay.
A rare moment, John. I wasn't saying anything. Usually I'm trying to interrupt, but
No, I thought you were. That's why
I was just listening and my brain was blank.
Don't tell that to
processing all the information.
That's a first. I've never heard
That's the truth. We're basically, what time is it? We have a few more minutes, which is good. From Judy's perspective, and not putting you on the spot, is there anything else?
Yes.
Significant? Because otherwise,
there is.
I'm going to keep talking. Again.
Okay. Do you mind?
No, absolutely not. No, okay. I want you, whatever you want.
So we still are doing our Sunday drop-off events, the stop events, and that's done by the town's solid waste management authority. So residents can continue to drop things off. It's every other Sunday. The next Sunday one is this Sunday, September 20th from 7:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. After that, it's Sunday, October 4th. 2 weeks later, it's Sunday, October 18th. The things that are accepted are recyclables, e-waste, yard waste, household project waste. No commercial waste is accepted. And then we have our final stop program that Stop Throwing Out Pollutants on Saturday, October 17th and Sunday, October 18th at North Hempstead Beach Park. On those 2 days, you can dispose of aerosols, household chemicals, pesticides, disinfectants, fertilizers, bulbs, thermostats, rechargeable and lithium batteries, TVs, and computers. And those 2 days will also be offering free shredding services. It's a limit of 6 banker boxes per car per day. But this is such a great service. It's done at North Hempstead Beach Park because it's a very, very large area. They can control the traffic flow, the cars. It's done in a safe way, a socially distant way. And it's another great service that the town provides.
Wonderful. And I just throw in quick, we're out of time, but throw in quick. They actually took something out of my trunk a couple of years ago. They said, no, stay in the car, sir. I forget what it was, a computer or something. Just pop your trunk. They took it out. So for a senior, there's nothing better. Have your kids put it in your trunk and you bring it over and get rid of it. Judy, I want to thank you as always for taking the time. It flies by. I appreciate so much you coming on, and you'll be back again, maybe for Christmas. We'll do it for Christmas.
Okay.
I love you. This was a wonderful show. We've been listening to Senior Talk Radio on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org, and we've been so fortunate to have the supervisor of the town of North Hempstead with us.
Thank you, and happy 9th anniversary.
All right, thank you, Judy.
Celebration, party.
The following is a presentation of Project Independence and WCWP. Project Independence is the Aging in Place initiative of the town of North Hempstead. We provide programs and services designed to assist and support the older town residents who wish to remain in their homes as they age. If we don't currently provide a service, we will try and connect you to that service. Call 311 or 869-6311 to get more information or receive services.
Welcome to Project Independence and You.
Welcome back to Senior Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. This is Project Independence and You. I'm your host, John Ryan. My co-host today is Otto Los. And
A good time, John.
Oh, it's wonderful. And the producer of the program is Christina Liu, who's also with us.
Hello.
We had a wonderful, wonderful segment with Supervisor Judy Bosworth going through the stuff with the town. And it's always wonderful when Judy comes on because she's down to earth and she always has a lot to share because, you know, quite frankly, she's doing a lot. This town is thriving. And so it's great to come on and want to talk about it. Now, we also have with us in this segment, Rebecca Miller, who you see doing yoga classes. I see them all the time. Paula Uhl, and Kimberly, but I'm not sure they're, Christina, you take over because I want to give proper titles. And I don't have Paula.
Kim is she's the Commissioner of Community Services and the Department of Service for the Aging. And then we have Rebecca and Paula, who are our fabulous deputy commissioners for the Department of Services for the Aging.
Okay, perfect. Let's start with Paula since she was the last one I saw. How are you, dear?
I'm very good, thank you.
9th anniversary. Give me something. We're going to go back to like Christine and I was asking them. Give us something we don't know about Paula.
We're kicking it back to Fun Day Monday questions.
No, I was thinking about it this morning, getting ready for work, and I remember the first meeting we had to talk about with the whole group to talk about, can we even have this radio show? Could this even be possible? And everyone who came to the meeting was so excited and so interested in bringing this to Project Independence in the town of North Hempstead. And, you know, I know you've talked about it before, but it wasn't always an easy road to get this up and running. But it's just remarkable to me that how much it's grown, just the quantity and the quality of the people that come on, that the information we give, the emotions that we feel from everybody. It's so very important. And John, like you said, you know, Supervisor Bosworth comes on so often and you can really see our team at work. And for us, that's a really, really nice thing, because I'm sure in government, local government, you can't really always see and hear what it is we do every day and understand how it all works. But I think through this program, through Project Independence in You, you can really have a better understanding of A, what services you're entitled to, B, how to reach us, and C, that we're always here for you. So those are some of my thoughts about this anniversary. Happy anniversary.
Thank you. Actually, we're going to go to Rebecca and then to Kimberly.
Hi, hopefully you can hear me. Well, Project Independence Radio Show is just an incredible vehicle for, like Paula was saying.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second first?
Sure.
I want to thank Rebecca, because anytime that I can't get here,
Yeah.
and one was a 5:30 in the morning call, or 6:30 in the morning. That was when Anna Kaplan was coming on. And I knew I couldn't come. And Christina gotcha. And so from that, I mean it very sincerely from the bottom of my heart. Always thank you so much for always being there to jump in.
Oh, of course, John. We are, as you know, we are a team. All of us here, we're just a team, and we're all here to support each other and to support the town. And I'm here for you and, everybody in DOSA. But yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful vehicle. And the thing that I talk about every show that always is the most amazing thing about it is really Christina. I mean, every single week, she pulls together this show with the most incredible guests. And it's always, even doing it at home when on those times that I did have to guest host. And it was a different, even though some of the guests were the same we've had before, it was such a different take and so much more personal. So this show has really grown and blossomed into this just an amazing vehicle to getting information to seniors, always timely, always progressive. And I'm happy to be part of it. I'm thrilled to be in this team. And I just kudos to Christina, because she pulls it off now 9 years every single week. And, of course, great thanks to Dan Cox and, the radio station. They were also wonderful. And Otto.
Oh, Otto.
I know Otto didn't realize that we locked him in. This pandemic hit, and then we locked Otto in every week.
He wasn't really sure of that commitment that we made for him, but. Yeah.
Well, I think the first couple of weeks that was an interference, wasn't it, Otto?
Not really. I like doing it. I love this program, the Project Independence in You program, and all the people who are here now. You guys are great. You all do a tremendous job. You're very engaged in what you do, and that's why I love this program. It's not, to me, a political event. It's happening that people are really interested in, doing a great job. And to me, it's been one of the things out of COVID, actually. I was kind of doing only once every 3 or 4 weeks, and now I've been doing every week. I'm kind of getting used to it, to be honest about it.
Well, that's going to be a conversation, Otto.
Yeah, I have a good time, and I believe we are providing a service. I have learned more than I ever imagined I could learn over the last 9 years almost for me. Yeah, it's been a great experience, and I'm happy I'm here doing it, and the pay is good.
That's right. We got to salary during the pandemic. But you know what?
Somebody's going to listen to that, Christina, and they'll be calling.
Just kidding. No one is. Yes. Full disclaimer. No.
I am actually a deputy volunteer.
That's right. He's our deputy volunteer.
You can be
deputy.
Our volunteers.
Right. But I want to say, Rebecca touched upon it. And in our earlier segment too, we were talking about the silver linings that we've been finding during this time, and doing the Zoom thing. You're right. As much as it's weird because it's less personal because we're not actually in person, it actually was more personal. If that makes any sense to people. I mean, really, in the beginning, I could speak for myself. It served as like a group therapy session. It really did. We would come in, and each week, in real time, we were dealing with, what was hitting currently in the news, how we were feeling, how we were coping. And, you know, I felt myself, I would walk away each week and just feel like lighter and happy. You know, I'd call my mom, I'd call my husband. I'd be like, you know, I just feel so good, you know, because it really was a therapy session. And I hope that's what it served, you know, for people who are listening or who were watching, you know, our Zooms, because it just made you feel, you know, that your feelings weren't so rare and that you weren't alone in these crazy things. You know, one week, you know, I was like, want to like start cry. Well, not even 1 week. One like minute I want to cry, the next I want to like laugh, you know. So it was just this crazy roller coaster of emotions, and being able to go through it and express it was, you know, was a saving grace for me during this whole time. So.
And the fact that we were doing these from our homes,
right?
You know, it's like, here we are in my dining room, you're in your living room, you're in your office, you're here, and you know, we're doing this show, and I think that really made it so much more personal, you know.
Absolutely.
Now we have to go to the woman who refers to herself as the Don Corleone of
I was just going to go for goddess.
the boss of bosses. How are you, dear?
I am doing well. I also have to say, this is just such a special day, and to be here with each and every one of you, inviting me into your homes, and you're invited into my backyard, and happy 9th anniversary. I will say, for those in the listening universe, Christina normally has cake and favors for each and every one of us.
Cakes. They're just, you know, they were just there before. Well, it's not as.
So because I was missing my party favor and my treat when we get to come to the radio.
I got mine too.
We have some mugs. We have some mugs with my emoji on it.
See, this is all good stuff. All good stuff. So, but again, I just think it's so special that we get to come into people's homes, and this incredible team gets to come to people's homes and gets invited in each week, and people listen and partake in such programs like this. I think one of the most amazing things about our supervisor, the town of North Hempstead, is, you know, we didn't know what to expect, and yet so quickly, everybody here just made a difference and quickly was able to adjust and make a difference in people's lives. And although this has been a very tough 6 months for each and every person out there, everybody has risen to the occasion. People are learning new things. This is actually my 3rd Zoom meeting and radio program for the day. And it's so incredible to me that people are learning new technologies and challenging themselves, and just, it says so much. You know, you talk about growing up. So it's your 9th birthday and you really truly have grown up and you're hitting new milestones. I think of it as my own kids. Like, everybody has risen to this occasion, and I'm just so happy to be here with you on this 9th anniversary.
Well,
which
so I'm so glad you guys are.
Evidently is our Willow anniversary or leather, but I think we'll go with Willow.
Kim wore her leather pants for the occasion.
I did, just in case, you know, because as I said, Christina always has a theme, you know, you got to come prepared. But I just want to say to each and every one here that I get to see and listen to, you guys are an incredible team, and you truly are. If we talk about gifts, you guys are each a gift on this anniversary to the residents of the town of North Hempstead. So thank you so much for what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. I'm gonna get through the day not crying, guys. So we're just gonna
wait till we get in the double digits, Christina.
I know.
2 tissue boxes.
That's right.
One away.
I know.
Wow.
Last year, even every year since I've been doing this, Christina sends out. It's the most amazing thing when the list of the candidate, not the candidates, the guests.
Yeah.
We have had on, and other than a few people that are repeats for a very specific reason, there's not that many. It's a small percentage. I mean, she goes out and she does guests. You know, I mean, a political person, obviously, Judy comes on twice a year if she can, maybe 3 times, but that's a whole different thing. But when I see the list and I remember some of the names, I'm saying, oh my God, I forgot about that person 2 years ago or 3 years ago. And really, it's you know, through this whole pandemic and through this whole year, I don't think there's been a duplicate. I really don't, that I can recall, which is a compliment to Christina because, and of course, she books them about 3 years in advance. Because I mean, and she calls them about 19 times.
Well,
She
that
always
was
knows
very
what's
fun.
trending.
If I'm in the middle of any one of these, I'll say, I'll call that person. About 10 minutes later, did you call them? I said, I will call them. About 10 minutes later, did you call them? Like, oh my God, what did I do?
Give me the number, I'll do it.
Yeah,
But I said that was something I had to kind of adjust to in this crazy world that we're in. Because in the beginning it was hard, everything, we weren't sure what was going to happen. But now, like, luckily I got, we're booked into like November now. So I'm getting my groove, which is really, really wonderful. So, and I also want to say what's great is everyone constantly give me suggestions. So it's a team effort.
I see there's a judge coming on in November.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Terry Corrigan. Actually, my daughter, Terry worked for Kathleen Rice at one time. And my daughter, who's a 6th grade math teacher in Hicksville, was her campaign manager when she ran for judge. And they ended up getting the most votes per judge for the whole election. I think that was 2012 that she ran. So it was, I know her from the neighborhood, basically. Her kids are good friends of my grandchildren.
oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break. You're listening to Senior Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. We'll be right back.
Project Independence is the aging in place initiative of the town of North Hempstead. Some of the many services we offer include fitness classes, community education, information, and referral. Call 311 or 869-6311 to get more information or receive services.
Welcome back to Senior Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. This is Project Independence in You. I'm your host, John Ryan. My co-host today is Otto Los, and this is our 9th anniversary show. So I'm letting Christina do much of the work. So Christina, I'm going back to you with this. Christina Liu, as we've been talking about it all day, but everybody knows it anyway. She's the producer, and this is basically the Christina Liu Show, which has basically taken over the town of North Hempstead for the last couple of years. And with us, we also have, and I know these are 3 friends and mentors to Christina, and that's Rebecca, Kimberly, and Paula. And so, Christina?
Well, thank you. Yes, it's like the ladies of DOSA. We're missing a few, but we have our little crew
Ladies
here.
of DOSA, I like it.
But I have to,
for the 10th
Like a
anniversary.
reality show.
I said totally sounded like a new show coming to Bravo. So stay tuned.
Oh no.
But no, it's really a pleasure to work with each of them. And we got back this week. We were all back in the office, so it was nice and emotional to actually.
Oh, you are?
Yes, we had to actually see each other in person. And it's so safely done in the office. It's beautiful. Clearly we've all been seeing each other via Zoom, for all these months. So it was nice to finally, and I got to give out, I had a lot of backlog of birthday presents and, then I had to give, little welcome back to work presents, like the things that we got to hold on to the things we can. But it's really nice and it's amazing. And, we, in the first segment, we talked with the supervisor just about the amazing turnaround of programs. And, it's amazing. It's really because each person that works for our department, and I'm not trying to toot our own horn or, I could really blow the blower, sound. But
Christina,
but it's really, everyone through this, we could all speak, and I won't get emotional, went through our own source of rough times during this pandemic personally. But it never stopped any one of these women from, I'm going to get emotional, shocker, from really, coming up with amazing things and putting the seniors first. And it was just an amazing thing to go through and to have this team. So
what would be
I don't say something quick.
Yeah, what would be a good idea sometime is to have a tour of Christina's party warehouse.
I don't know if you want that, guys. You might need a long time. It's a lot of maneuvering. So it's like,
You have to have a warehouse for all this stuff.
Yes, it's called my garage and any cabinet in my house is what it's called.
It's so funny. It's like, if I'm planning a party or having something going on and I say to myself, God, I wish I had an orange bowl to go with, because, oh wait, I have an orange bowl. Wait, hang on a second. And of course it comes the next day, there's this orange bowl that she has. So she has everything. She's a really
I have a pretty solid inventory, so call me if you need me.
Bring it all to the office. Every holiday, we are decorated so beautifully. So you really feel that nice feeling when you come into the office and you look around and it's happy and you're joyful and it's Miss Christina.
It's great from around. It really is.
On that note, I want to say our offices have, since being out on March 15th was our last time, or March 16th was actually our last time together as a team.
Right.
And we were at, Christina had decorated the entire place for St. Patrick's Day, and it was just perfect. And we've been stuck in time for 6 months. So it was so nice. When she was in on Monday, she like already started. I was like,
oh no.
It's awesome. It's like it finally, like we've been stuck in time for 6 months. Because I've been in and out of the office since the beginning. But that being said, but nobody wanted to touch anything until Christina could come in and literally just make it better. And Christina come in and made it better. So thank you.
Oh, that's all right.
Now, I have a question.
Some clovers.
Christina, I have a very important question. When you went back to work, did you bring Harry with you?
It's all right. He was still I have a picture of him in my wall of photos. He's part of the family.
I told somebody at breakfast this morning about Harry and Justin.
I love it that John's very tied into, my men on the side, my celebrity men.
I love it.
Well, Christina's business, Party in a Box, is going to flourish after this.
That's right. Otto love that coin, that term. That's why I had to drop to each of them the little party in a bag. Listen, you got to do what you got to do. And that's really what I have to say, through this radio show, and especially doing the Talk of the Town segment, that was really kind of became our theme, without us even knowing, was really just finding ways to find what makes you happy, at the end of the day. It's different for everyone. Last week we were talking about our happy places, and I think it's important to find, what makes you happy, especially during these very tough times. And, everyone's been through so many changes and so many things have been canceled, and it's all these, you could focus on all these things, but there are ways of kind of doing what you like. It might be a little different, and it's difficult for me, obviously with certain things, but it's something I've been working on, is to, reframe the situation and and still take joy. I had to yell at John last time when he tried to say Christmas was canceled. No. That is not even a sentence that would be in my universe. So we're gonna, it's a little different. It might not be the John Ryan, the Ryan family open house every, tons of people coming in the house, but I will not take that candy dish that I gave you, John, better be out filled with some candy in your house.
Christina, I would love to know. I have someone I'm thinking of, and from John and Christina and Otto, and is there a guest, and you don't have to say names, that stands out, that not necessarily for the incredible information, but just something about the person that was surprising, or was there someone that you just think about a lot, or, shocking or not shocking?
It's so hard because, going through the list, there's such a variety of guests, which really kind of blew my mind. It's like one week you could have on a doctor, and the next week, it's some kind of entertainment segment. But, what I really loved were when we would just interview, different residents and veterans. That's
what I was remembering.
Really would just rip your heart out. And it was just so incredible. And it was nice because it was being archived over at LIU Post, their stories. And it was just so just to hear what people went through. And it was just the descriptions. And a lot of times it was the first time one of these veterans told their story, in this kind of forum. And they would be, so thankful. Like, now I have something, I would send them a CD and they could play it for their family, because they haven't even necessarily opened up, with their family, but it's nice to have on. Obviously I love the celebration ones. Everyone's had a radio show birthday. kind of party, which is always fun. I mean, Otto's had friends of his on who had incredible stories, and John, so when you bring in that personal component to things, it really is just it makes the interview even more, beautiful and amazing. So
Well, I think that says so much of both John, Christina, and Otto, because you guys are incredible interviewers. And I had the joy of doing some tapings with you over the summer for Fun Day Monday. And I have to say that you interviewed people who I've known for over 20 years. And you made them feel at home, as if you knew each other forever. You were best friends. And they opened up. The supervisor, our town board, all the people you interviewed over the summer, you make them feel so important, and just a light comes on around them. And you guys are special people with what you guys do. So thank you.
Very much.
That's really, it's just so nice to feel like that. And that's what you used to explain to me. They'd be like, I'm so nervous to come on. So, when we were in person, I'm so nervous to come in. And I was like, I really promise you, I can't promise you anything more than the fact that it's like sitting around a table, drinking coffee or wine, depending on the time of day, with, your friends or
Vanderpump, right?
Vanderpump. Yeah, that's right. See, John's learned so many little catchphrases over the years.
I'm hip.
That's right.
I have two that you didn't ask me, but I'm going to say.
Yeah, I did. I mentioned it, sure.
This is a free-for-all, Otto. Just
jump right in.
I have two that really stand out. One you've heard me say before is the veteran who was on, and he talked about being in France during World War II, and there was a trench, and the sergeant or whoever told this soldier to go down to the other end of the trench and see what was going on. And he walked to the other end of the trench. He got to the trench. He had a rifle in his hand. He got to the other end of the trench, and lo and behold, he confronts a German soldier who also has a gun. So the two of them are looking at each other.
17-year-old boys.
Yeah, standing in a trench with guns in hand, both of them supposed to be the enemy. And they looked at each other, and they turned away, and they went back. They left each other. And I often thought about that story and the impact that might have had on other generations of families that wouldn't be here had one of them decided to shoot the other. It's just a story that a movie could be made of. Really.
That's exactly what was in my head too, Otto.
Yeah.
That was so powerful.
But that was one. And then the other one that for some reason hit me with a lot of interest was the one that we just had last year when Bernice Sims and Judy was on, and it was about the North Hempstead Civil Rights documentary. Mm-hmm. I felt that show had a lot of meat to it and a lot of feeling about something like not an our town kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't just a fluffy kind of thing.
No,
it really had depth. And I believe that, to me, what really is needed, especially in this day and age, is the ability to have real open dialogue about things like race relations. I mean, open, honest dialogue without people getting mad at each other, just being able to exchange your view, your feeling, and whatever. And that show, we had a little bit of that, and I thought that was good. So I found that to be among my top happenings, if you will. And I looked, and my first one that I did was January 27th, 2012. Oh. And I looked at the people who we had on that day: Jolene Bowden of JASA, Andrea Jarrett of Zucca, and Honorable John Marks. He was at that time Executive Director of Nassau County Traffic and Parking, and Dr. Bethany DeVito, gastroenterologist, about colonoscopy. What struck me when I looked at this was we had 4 guests.
Yeah, and we realized that was not going to work.
And the preparation, I'm into the preparation part of it, which I shouldn't say with the word colonoscopy. The part, I mean, that was my first exposure to this whole thing. And I'm saying we got 1 minute left. So that's what I'm saying.
No, and I think, what you're saying too, and that's just one of the, Dan could attest certainly to all these things where, that was 15-minute segments and they were like clearly not going to work. Like these like little 15, 20, and I think this format's actually kind of nice because it gives us more time to kind of get everything out, because we would always walk away with, oh my God, we didn't have enough time situation. So
now we're going for a break. I want to thank Rebecca and Kimberly and Paula for participating. You've been listening to Senior Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. We'll be right back.
Project Independence is the Aging in Place initiative of the town of North Hempstead. One of the many services we offer is transportation for food, shopping, and medical visits. Call 311 or 869-6311 to get more information or receive services.
Welcome back to Senior Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. This is Project Independence in You. I'm your host, John Ryan, and this is our 9th anniversary show. So in this segment, we have myself, we have my co-host, Adolos, we have the producer, who's Christina Liu. We have Dan Cox, who is the director. And actually, if it wasn't for Dan, none of this stuff would be going on because he's the brains behind all the machinery that happens. And we are so lucky that Victoria has joined us. And Victoria has been the engineer for quite some time. Not during the pandemic, because it's been Zoom and Dan's been doing it, most of it from the house. And he just went back to the studio maybe a month ago, I believe. So world is different, but this group right here has really been the consistency of this program for quite some time. I'm going to turn it over to Christina to start off, and then we're going to go around the table, which is fun.
Well, I'm so glad. I figured for our last segment of our 9th anniversary show, we needed the old gang back together. And of course I had to, which is my pleasure of every year, is forcing Dan Cox to be on air in the radio show. I like every year he thinks I'm going to let it slide, and then he'll get a text from me like, and FYI, you're on the last segment with us.
And he's going to be on the TV too. That's
right. We're really putting the pressure on him. But it really is such a pleasure, for 9 years working with, LIU Post, and the whole collaboration has just been so great and seamless. And we really have become a family. And like I said, we've had all kinds of celebrations together. This one's a new one for us, our virtual celebration. But it's really great. So I want to thank you, Dan, for giving us a platform to do all this.
Welcome. You're welcome.
Really just great. And Dan had even decorated. People really need to watch this show on the actual video footage, because he used all the decorations I sent over to him, and I'm very proud of him for decorating our studio, in remembrance of us being in there, which is lovely.
Yeah, I am in Studio 4, which is the studio you would normally be in when you did your show, because it's where I can set all the equipment up to do these. But you're right, I was doing them from my home for 3 months, but yeah, we got it together. I mean, radio is fun, and adding the TV was a lot of fun too.
I have a question for you that when the day comes when we can go back into the studio, and you said that you could still do Zoom from the studio, so we could have a guest who would be on Zoom and we would be in the studio. Would we have to have a laptop or something with us to do that, or how would that work?
No. Everything would be here. Like right now, if you remember the configuration, I can't really show you, and Victoria would sit where I am right now, and there's some screens next to you to run the radio. Well, straight in front of me is another computer, a Macintosh computer. And when you guys come back, it won't be there, but it'll be connected somewhere in the room, probably monitors, so you could see if you wanted. Because I think Christina learned, we all learned during this pandemic, and it's been great that we can get guests that we could never get on the show because of this technology. I mean, yeah, you can get them on the phone, and that's great, but phones always, I never liked using the phone because it always gives that tinny sound. And this gives us, and we started this about 6 weeks ago, the opportunity to also create a television show of the program too, which can then be used by NHTV, which is great. And that extends, there's the side that says this extends our reach a little bit more. But, from a selfish aspect, if you know at the end of the show, it says Long Island University right across the end of the show, because that's you thank me, I thank them. It's, it's their facility. It's their equipment. They think the partnership is great. The university thinks the partnership is great with all the public entities that we work with, because we work with more than just you guys. But you were the first, just so you know, you were the first, and you've been the longest. And as far as I'm concerned, the best group I have. No offense to my other talk show hosts, and again, we can go down this road all day. Christina Liu, and it's true, and it's true. She's the glue that keeps this show together. She keeps me in check when I forget about dates. She sends me cosmic brownies.
That's
right.
right.
I love Little Debbie's. And this is one of my favorites. And she has such a great spirit about her. And I know I don't want to make her cry, because I sent her a text message the other day. I could just see her at the other end.
I know, guys. It's really...
she's just a good all-around person. And we have far too few of them in the world right now. And I just think it's wonderful that she does this every week. She does it for all the right reasons. And that's what makes this partnership easy, because I'm of the same mind. I think the smallest kindness we can give will do the most good, in my opinion. So when you're kind to everyone you come in contact with as much as you can, it's fine. And that's the cornerstone. I mean, she's Miss Sunshine. She's our little ray of sunshine, or a big ray of sunshine every week. And without her, the show wouldn't be what it is, John. As good as you are as a host, Otto, as great as you are as a co-host, the show is nothing without her, because she does exactly what someone needs to do to make something like this very successful. But also,
imagine how the world would be if
they were all Christina.
Attitude.
Come on. But
like the troll land.
but I'll tell you something. Before the pandemic, I leaned on somebody very heavily, and that's Victoria, who's also with us today, because despite graduating from the college, and I don't think I paid her for the last month she was here. For the last 6 months she was here, she would come in every Friday, and I'd say to her, I can't pay you anymore. And she'd go, doesn't matter. I love being with these people. So you have a kindred soul in Victoria also.
Yeah, definitely.
It was absolutely wonderful. And I'm glad you're here today, Victoria. It's good to see you.
That was such a perfect segue. Because Victoria, listen, and like I said, I don't want to pick favorites, but I'm going to have to say, we have a bunch of engineers over the years, but Victoria was super special, became a friend. And, she was someone who she was so interested in what I always loved to, whoever the guest was, whoever the co-host was, Victoria really would talk to them and be engaged with them. And it was a perfect fit in our little family, of the radio show. And that's why we had to have you on, Victoria. And BLI is very lucky to have Victoria over there, who is so talented and so bright and wonderful. So we're happy you're here, Victoria.
You guys really make me cry.
I cried. It's fine.
We're like walking in here. Yeah, no, I'm so glad to be on. I'm so honored that you asked me to be part of the radio show. Happy anniversary, 9 years. I definitely am so sad that I can't be with you guys, obviously in person, but due to the circumstance, obviously this is the next best thing. So I'm just really glad that I was able to take some time out of my day and get to chat with you guys. And it was so great. Like, it's so true. Like, I told Dan would pull me aside one week and be like, listen, our budget's going to run out at the end of the month, but you don't have to come in. I'm like, listen, I love them. I don't care about anything else. The biggest thing is just, it's nice to learn something new every week. Obviously, I actually still talk about the Lyme disease stuff a lot. I'll actually reference back to the show. It's funny because even with my day-to-day conversation, I'll reference back to the radio show. And I'm like, this is the one thing with the pandemic, I wasn't able to continue doing it. But obviously the engineering side, Dan took on that role, and I'm sure he's doing a fantastic job. I'm glad to see everyone so happy, so wonderful. And happy anniversary to the show. It's so exciting.
I know. Thank you, Victoria. And like I said, Victoria, we would laugh because we would take away our golden nuggets each week. Yeah. And that's that. I remember that Lyme disease show really well because I preach those all the time. There's certain little things that stick in your head, you know, on certain shows, certainly. And that was some concrete tips, see, and that at any age, and that's what I have to say about this show. Over the years, you know, we were, you know, it was a senior-based show, very heavy on senior issues and whatnot. But over the years, which has been really cool, and, you know, in talks with Dan and stuff, and then the whole team was really kind of making it a community-based show. Obviously, you know, we still talk about Project Independence and certain senior-based things, but really the topics we've had on it, especially during this pandemic, have been something that anyone, any age, you know, whatever community you are in can really benefit from. And I think I like seeing that kind of progression of this show, that it really became, you know, a community forum to get information. So
I think that's what's important. I think Victoria mentioned it. That's what I love about the show. Yes, in the beginning, in the first couple of years, it was, you know, kind of strictly all senior citizens, and I thought that was great. But as it evolved over time, when someone as young as Victoria walks away with really important information about something that could affect her, affect her parents, affect her grandparents, you know, that's important, because unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, we're all going to be caregivers at some point to someone older than us, and we need to have information that we can use. And I think no matter what age you are, you benefit from a lot of the discussions that have gone on the show for all those years. I know you had a thought there, Otto. I'm sorry.
I think and one of the things that probably is starting to really evolve here is that probably a more important part of the audience to this show are the caregiver parts of the audience. The people who need help may not necessarily be able to do what has to be done. They may not be the ones who look into the new Medicare gap insurance or whatever. It could be the parents or the grandchildren even of people. And I think the audience probably is bigger than we realize. You know, in the beginning, you had to be 60 and over to listen to this show. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think you can learn a lot that helps people help other people who they may want to help in their family.
I think you come up with lots of examples. As a matter of fact, as you pointed out, that whole thing about Medicare the other day, my son, his girlfriend, his aunt is going through a really tough time now trying to deal with that. And I gave him the numbers, all the numbers that you had for the guest and everything. And he's been able to almost straighten most of it out within a couple of phone calls. So, you know, and again, I'm not there for Medicare yet, but, you know, I'm going to be there at some point too. And all this information is just good. It's good for the caretaker. It's good for the person who's directly involved. So, yeah, the show's evolved over 9 years. It's gotten better and better. So I think it'll.
No, it really, you know, and that's, you know, and like I was saying, especially, you know, during this time, you know, doing this segment, you know, I think about my own self just evolving. You know, I mean, 9 years is a really long time. And I remember the first time that Ev, you know, who was our original host, had asked me to be on the radio show because some guest had canceled. I felt like I was going to pass out. Like my blood pressure was like through the roof. I was so nervous. I was like, what the heck am I going to do? And it was just like this panic inside. And then obviously, I mean, as we could see, you know, over the years, you know, and it was really mostly because of being so comfortable with you guys. And, you know, I remember John saying, listen, I want to do a Talk of the Town segment, which somehow evolved to the Christina Lou show, you know. But
I think Evelyn,
right.
Evelyn Roth should get credit also.
Absolutely.
Because she really was the original host. And John, you are the greatest, and she's the greatest. Therefore, both of you are great.
No, and John started, he was our first co-host, was John Ryan with Ev, which is just, I always think is such a nice thing about the show.
We're going to take a break. You're listening to Senior Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. We'll be right back.
Project Independence is the aging in place initiative of the town of North Hempstead. One of the many services we offer is help at home with minor home maintenance. Call 311 or 869-6311 to get more information or receive services.
Welcome back to Senior Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. This is Project Independence in You. I'm your host, John Ryan. My co-host today is Otto Los. We have our producer, Christina Lou, our director, Dan Cox, and our engineer, Victoria. Before we pass it back to whoever wants to talk, Christina was talking about the Christina Lou show. And I just want everybody to know how that came about. And if anybody's seen The Godfather, they would know. One day I come out of my house and there's a fish wrapped in paper on my stoop. And when I picked it up, it said, "We better start a Christina Lou show." That's all that was written on it.
That's how it totally was.
And from that point on, it's only been history. And
But,
it's a wonderful history.
But it's actually funny you said, because, we were talking, prior to the break about just evolution of things. And like I said, even when John had suggested, I don't even remember necessarily, I think it was really, he was like, I think we should promote town programs and different things that are going on. There's so much going on in the town. We had this discussion and I was like, okay. I was nervous though.
You didn't want to do it.
Each week I was like, oh, John, I don't know. Like, then I got to, prepare and be put on the, and he's like, you already know all this information from working there. So why can't you do it? And we ran it past the supervisor. She loved the idea of communication. So I laughed because I remember just even then, which I don't even know how many years ago we started doing Talk of the Town. Because I can't imagine the show without it, frankly. But it's just great, really, to see. And like I said, it's
now what is it, Christina?
Now we got merch, guys. So watch out.
I love it.
But I think it's just showing it, and it's a great place that we get, so much information out. We certainly, everyone laughs, with my stacks of papers. We don't even get through half of it, because we'll go on our tangents, but it's a very real thing. And I think, for the people that listen, my friends listen, my mom listens, and it just gives you a feel like you're just kind of talking. And those are my favorite kind of shows, frankly. When I listen to a podcast or other radio shows, I like when you just feel like just being involved in the conversation with people. And that's certainly something that especially came true during this whole pandemic. So that's it. Now, John, what about you? What is your favorite thing hosting this show?
Honestly, I really, Victoria touched on it a bit. It's an education. It really is. Like I look at the stuff you send me, and I'm being very honest. I don't do the work Otto does. No, I don't do it because I want the person to teach me. So I'm just coming up with the question. Explain it to me. I don't understand. Just like in my business, I call a person, tell me, what do you want? What do you do? What are you looking for? So the same thing with the show. I don't, I want to see what they do conceptually, but to go through all the pages, Barry Klitzberg last week and Kathleen, when you go through them all, they have all the information to share. And honestly, the people you pick are wonderful. I'd rather turn around and say, well, what do you think about this? Why did you do it? And I also like, which most of the time I try to do, and sometimes I forget, how did the person get into it?
I was going to say, this is my favorite. I love when you ask that question to them, because that's such an interesting piece of their story too.
Most of them, and that's what seems to make the best one, is they've wanted to do this since they were high schoolers. It's not like, I lost my first 3 jobs and this was the only thing available. They all wanted to do these jobs, which, I look at that, I call it, they owned it. They owned the position. And so who better to give you some information? So that really is the high point. And what you learn coming away from this place, it's just, and I like this kind of learning. I'm not interested in reading a book. I'm being honest. I'll walk away with a story like Otto said about the one in the trench. I wasn't there. You remember those things. And that's a great story. And, different people, or the Lyme degrees with Victoria, you'll remember those stories for good.
No, it's absolutely.
The golden nuggets. Remember when you started calling it?
Yeah, it is. It's the golden, and you're right. It's because the format of the show, and that's how I learned better too. All of us have sat in front of presentations where you're being drilled all this information, but it's, it's so much easier to learn and to understand really complex issues and concepts in this kind of format where it's a discussion-based kind of thing, for me, myself also.
I try, when I prepare for the show, I try to imagine what it is. First of all, what do I want to know? What don't I know about the subject? Which is about a lot of things, all right? But then I try to imagine people who are listening to the show. Like, I'll give you a very small example, but IDA, Industrial Development, we're going to be on not too far down the road. I'd be willing to wager 90% of the people have no clue what IDA stands for. So I try to imagine, what would somebody who's not in this world, What do they want to know? You know what? I'm big on a kindergarten primer for anything I learn. If I don't learn the bottom line basics, I was never any good in school at getting the rest because I was still down here grappling with the bottom while everybody else was up here. Well, I didn't get this part. So the fact that I didn't get the top part because I didn't understand the lower level. So I try to go from that perspective a little bit on my own behalf, selfishly, and on imagining what somebody who's listening may be interested in. You know, sometimes I think we all tend to take for granted a knowledge that people may have about things because maybe you're involved with it all the time. I try to take that out of it and try to come at it from a level of people don't know what you're talking about, or who your organization is or anything else about it. So we all have a different way of looking at it. With the same point as you, John, that these are the people who know. I'm not trying to tell them. I'm trying to learn,
right?
On a level that I'm capable of learning, and thinking there are other people in the same category as me.
Well, I think that's why you two are so good together.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons is we teach interview skills here at the university, and you both have very good interview skills, and you're both doing it from a different perspective. John, you're doing it from, you know what, I'm a blank slate. I need to learn everything I need to know about the subject. And Otto comes in with some information, but specific questions on things that he finds are most important. The combination of those two is rare in a single interviewer. And it's good that we have two interviewers because you're really covering all the bases. I think that's one of the evolutions of this show that you guys have developed as good hosts, as good on-air people. Now, John, you never knew you had a career in radio. Otto.
That's right.
Well, I give John, first of all, I will maybe interrupt once in a while, but you as a host have no big ego about worrying about somebody else speaking, all right? And there could be situations where if you were the host, you're the host, all right? And that won't allow other people to talk. You're not like that. And that's why I enjoy being on this show, because there is this open acknowledgement that if I feel like talking, me, I'm not good at sitting here sort of just listening and puppeting my way through it. That's not who I am. And if you were a different kind of host who wanted to dictate the whole thing, I probably wouldn't enjoy this as much as I do. So A+ to John,
Absolutely. And
yeah.
I also want to say, we have so many co-hosts, unfortunately, that we haven't been able to have on the show because of the current pandemic. We're doing this through Zoom and needing certain technology kind of savvy and equipment and whatnot. But I also want to say, a shout out to all of them, who listen and I check in with and I stay in contact with because they were, it was so wonderful to have them on too. And everyone kind of brings your own experience to things. So I promise next year for our 10 years, we'll have a big celebration, which I have to start planning now because I can only imagine really live up to 10 years is a big one. But it's just really great, and I was sitting here thinking the radio show too, it's not like it just stops here. The idea of having all these guests on and these different, it really just builds our network so much, and especially I take this information back and I give it to our social workers, our nurses, people I meet, my family, my friends, so just thinking about, it becomes such a big thing, and in each of you, who you talk to, Victoria was saying, she would even bring out, the radio show things that she's learned. So it really just spreads and creates, I'm all about the grassroots of communication and spreading it and especially these community-based programs and organizations, just bringing everything kind of together is really at the end of the day what will make things work. So
that's what makes the show so special. It's just the fact that, the dynamic is very casual. It's not like a very strict cut and dry, this is an interview. You guys make it really fun, very great. Like you bring out some snacks sometimes. I know some of the listeners are like, oh, what's this? Like, what are we celebrating today? But that's what makes the Project Independence show so great. It's just, it doesn't feel like a very cut and dry. Oh, today we're talking about tax season. Like everyone wants to tune out when they hear the word tax season, but that's what makes the show so great. So congratulations to you guys. This is so exciting.
Thank you, Victoria. Actually, I just want to jump in with one thing, and which is important to me, and that is Dan. Because the one thing that Dan is, and I mean, he's patient. He really is, because, you know.
I talk to my kids, they tell you differently.
Well, that's a different story. I'm sure they have. But no, it's the truth, because if you don't know what you're doing, the last thing, like Otto, you're saying, my style is my style, but Dan's style is this. He's not coming and dictating to anybody. Don't do, we screw something up, we screw it up. He said, don't, you're a minute too soon, you're a minute too late. It's not the end of the world. We'll fix it, which is what it should be. I mean, we do work together. And even, when Victoria, when we were in the actual thing, she'd smile, she'd laugh and give me a face like, don't worry. Well, next one will be fine. It's the truth. Because, in fact, recently, I couldn't make the show, and I was disappointed, and Dan came back with, it wasn't heart surgery or something, whatever we were doing. And it's so true. We have a wonderful service, and we're bringing a wonderful information to the community. And if I can't do it, Otto's going to do it. Christina will do it. Dan will do it. Victoria, somebody will do it. And that's the most important part of this. And we have to have a little bit of fun doing it. And we do have fun. This has turned into a family. And what you said before about Corona, it's changed things very, very dramatically. And for us, I think for the better. I really do. I by no means am I going to turn around and say it's been a plague on this radio program. Is it more difficult? For Dan, not for me. I don't have to get dressed. I don't have pants on now. No.
Yeah, but you're on television now.
Right. Well, that's all
right. It's still from the waist up.
Don't stand up, John.
No, and it's so true. And it's just, it really, I can go on for days and days and days about how much I really love this program. But, at the end of the day, it's really a team, and everything, and if there is little faux pas or things, everyone is open. And, it all comes back to what we always bring up somehow every show is the importance of communication in daily life, right? And that's something that each of us have, talked about, how it's something that's really lacking in today's society. Everything is very, as black and white. And if you don't agree, that's it. There's really no trying to understand and work through certain things, and I think this show at its core, that's what it is. There are people talking, and not everyone is the same person, but everyone brings something different to the table. And I think that's what makes it special, and that's what comes across. So
Otto and Dan and Christina and Victoria, thank you guys very much, and myself, we all make it possible. And Rebecca, who's not here right now.
Absolutely.
Rebecca is always, she's an angel to jump in on occasions, and hopefully it's going to be happening less and less, but she's always there. But anyway, this has been another wonderful year, and we'll be back in 12 months to celebrate our 10th anniversary. You've been listening to Senior Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone.
Like what you hear? Here's how you can let us know. Give us a call at 516-299-2626 or email us at info@wcwp.org. Like us at facebook.com/mywcwp and leave a comment or tweet us at mywcwp. We welcome all kinds of feedback. To directly support the podcast you just enjoyed, leave a review on Apple Podcasts. And if you'd like to give back, visit wcwp.org and click the support tab. Thanks for listening from your friends at WCWP.